Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Roger's Real-Time Talk Show event. Last week was interesting. This week is going to get even more interesting. We're going to do yet another shift. We're going to go back to the topic of atheism and how atheism affected what's commonly known as critical theory. It also involves the Frankfurt School as well as socialism and sociology. So we're going to go back to the whole atheist aspect. Now, some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about tonight isn't necessarily going to pertain to critical theory, and it's not going to pertain to the Frankfurt School and sociology and stuff like that. It's going to have more to do with focusing on the atheist, and the myth and the reality that's behind a lot of it, to kind of get into it. I'm going to start out tonight with a hook, and that hook is going to be zombie laws. Zombie laws in your state. Now, did you know that in 2026, the Constitution of several states like Arkansas, Maryland, and Texas still physically say atheists are incompetent to testify in court or hold office? Now, these aren't actual active laws. They're referred to as zombie laws or dead letters. They look scary on the page, but they have zero legal teeth. All right. So that's what I want to start out with. Now, tonight we aren't doing the debate format where we go around the room and everybody makes a comment. We're going to do this with an open conversation, because last week got a little hectic, and I do like doing that format, don't get me wrong, but there's some things that you really don't want to do it, because there's a lot of things happen. All I do is ask is that we be respectful to one another, no mudslinging. Let's not turn this into a second-rate show where we're trying to talk about all the crazy stuff that you watch on Alex Jones. Let's keep it respectable. Okay. So, with that being said, let's open this up. What do you guys think about that with zombie laws and laws that are still on state constitutions?
In theory, you could those laws could be used, but I'm just thinking in relation to the U.S. First Amendment. Isn't there something in relation to ignorance of religion or faith in the U.S. Constitution? I think it's.
I can give you a legal case for an example. It's actually a legal shield that they use now, and it happened in 1961. It was Torcaso versus Watkins. Now the guy was Roy Torcaso. He was a Maryland man who was denied a commission as a notary public because he wouldn't say that he believed in God. Now, the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that religious tests are unconstitutional. Now, this ruling actually created a permanent shield. Even if the text is still in the state constitution, the 14th Amendment prevents any judge from actually enforcing it. So it's the 14th Amendment that does that. So.
Okay, I was thinking of the First Amendment also protects freedom of religion. stops the government from setting up an official religion, establishment clause.
So they consider that a religion, atheist?
No, what it is protection of religion. It's two-phase. It gives you the right to worship as you wish, but it also gives you the right to not worship. So you're not forced to believe in a religion. Okay.
Yeah.
That's basically what that's about. Which is they call like it secular, being secular.
Oh. Well, like that family that went to court, Supreme Court, they're atheists, and they brought it to court about that, and they won their court about atheists. You know, that people that, well, it was a big old thing, and they won. They did their court about they're atheists and they were having problems from being atheists, and they took it, and it went all the way up to the Supreme Court about it. I can't think of, but I remember it was on the news about that. It was in the 1980s when all this happened.
You're going to have to be a bit more specific.
Well,
the actual subject matter.
Now, before you get on, let me also bring, because this brings up something that I've been talking about, and I should have really done a lot more research, or not really, refreshed my memory on this stuff, because I've been talking about this a lot, and I really should be able, or should back up what I'm saying, because, you know, I mean, first of all, just because I learned it doesn't mean that I shouldn't refresh myself on it, because my mind, you know, everybody's mind, it's kind of foggy, you know what I mean? Like, you learn something and you think that you're actually talking about the stuff that you've learned, but as time goes by, your brain has a tendency of changing things to the way you see it or the way you remember it. And that's why I usually try to make a habit of going back over things to make sure I keep it straight. And that's one reason why I enjoy this, because what I'm about to bring up is actually something that I've been talking about a lot, and I think we should really discuss it. The big question is like with these dead letters or these zombie laws, why hasn't it been deleted? And the reason why I think that this is important is because we have to talk about what the difference is between repeal versus strike down. Okay. Now, there's a big misconception that most people have, and it's that they think that if a law is unconstitutional, it vanishes. Okay. Now, the reality behind that is this: the courts can't erase paper. They can only stop the law from being used. Now, to actually remove the words, the state legislature has to go through the long and often political process of repeal. Okay. Now, that brings you into what they refer to as the why bother factor. Many states leave these languages in because it's a dead issue. It's more effort to fix the paperwork than it is to just ignore the law. You know. Now
we have a similar concept in Britain. I think was it last week, or week before, we were talking about vacancy, and I brought up the point that in Britain, in certain counties, parishes, you could technically go to jail if you haven't got any change or any money on you.
Yeah.
But these are very old bylaws that are not being used anymore. Being used for some time.
Well, see, I actually did some research on that too. Back whenever I first really started getting serious into streaming, I did something on the gypsies, and England was one of the countries that was involved in it. There was other ones that did it too, but like when gypsies would travel from town to town, they would usually like park their wagons on people's properties, and this upset a lot of people. Not only that, but like with the folklore and the stories behind gypsies, they were very, very nervous with them around. So what England did is they set up stopping points to where these gypsies could actually go to and camp, and they weren't allowed to camp anywhere else unless they got permission from the landowners. And usually they would do that too, but they would also do work on their property. But other than that, they had certain spots where they could actually go to and camp without getting in trouble. So that's kind of where a lot of that.
I remember back in the 80s.
Yeah.
I remember back in the 80s, there was I think 80s to early 90s, there was big issues with gypsies entering private farms and just setting up camp and having police remove them. I think there are still issues even now in Britain.
Yeah, there probably is. It's actually been something that's been ongoing for quite a long time. I don't have any of the talking points anymore because, like I said, my computer crashed and all my notes and everything that I had are pretty much gone. So
over there, they still have problems even in them areas because it was a thing that they brought up on about gypsies disappearing in them areas and all that. And they said that at night, when they would walk around in camp and all that, they had to watch out because they have had cases of disappearance of children, adults, and all at time. And they go and report it in, and nothing really ever gets done.
Well, see,
but
that's actually one. That's what I was talking about. That's more of a that's really bad storyline. Like this is stuff that people said just out of hate for gypsies. Okay, like
no, that was gypsies that said that they have to watch out.
No, that's what they've been spreading around about them for forever, dude. That's one of the things I didn't want to mention. Like they would spread rumors like gypsies are going to come into your town and kidnap your children and shit.
Oh, okay,
you know
what I mean?
That's where that's coming from. So
okay.
I just want to.
We've got other issues in this country. Yeah, we've got, let's say, major other issues in the country that's been happening for the last 40, 50, 60 years, which I'm not going to go into at this specific moment, but related to this anyway.
Like,
no, hold on a minute.
It's a bit of a sensitive issue at this present moment, let's just say.
Let me go ahead and continue with this so that we can get on with the topics and stuff too. Now, when it comes to a lot of these laws and everything, there's a solution, a modern solution that they came up with called affirmation.
What is that?
Now, in courts today, no one has to like swear on a Bible. Every witness has the right to affirm rather than swear. It carries the same exact weight and penalty of for perjury, but it removes the religious requirement entirely. So the big question is
optional though. Can you still?
Yeah, you can still
can you
swear.
Still, if you want to swear on the Bible.
You can swear on the Bible.
Atheist.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you're atheist or you know what I mean, you can, or even Muslim, because it doesn't have to be a Bible. You know what I mean? you can affirm. So
Yeah. Oh, holy
my big.
to say, you've got the option to.
So my question to you guys, and even to the listeners, if they want to make a comment on it in the comment section, should we spend taxpayers' money to clean up all of these zombie clauses in our state constitutions, or is it better to leave them as like historical relics that show how far our legal system has evolved and stuff like that? What do you think?
Well,
Okay, both US and UK laws are related to precedents of most Western world laws. Legal systems are related to precedents. So if there's been a precedent to say that these laws are no longer needed, but they're on paper, then leave them, because there's already been a legal argument made for ignoring them.
What about you, Robert? What do you think?
well, I think that it has to be gone through. Okay, some of them might still be able to be used in today's time. Just because they're old, they might put a certain prerogative as they show on courts things. Okay, they use certain older cases for today's what they're going to go court for today, but they need to go through and eliminate the ones that far fetched. Okay, like the one about no horses, driving on Main Street. Walls like that should be removed because it's not needed for anything of walls like that in today's time. But yeah, they need to keep certain ones for different things, but be precise on what type are they, and how many cases.
Yeah, but the big question though, Robert, is like you were talking about, like no horses on Main Street. Would it be worth the taxpayers' money to actually go and make the effort of getting those taken off of the paper, rather than just keeping them on there and just ignoring them?
Well, no, not really, because it depends on the price. But if they got enough of them, then that might be a different thing. It depends on how many do they have compared to the cost and how long it's going to take to remove them from the wall as well.
Yeah. All right. So I've seen a grin on Mark's face. Mark, what was your thoughts?
Also, there's enough points. Some of laws may override those older laws. I mean, in England and Wales, I believe it's still legal for on one specific day in the year. I can't remember which day, but it's legal for an Englishman to go to the border of Wales and shoot a Welsh person using a crossbow. Obviously, there are newer laws to say that is murder, actual bodily harm, and so those override that old bylaw.
Yeah, see that
I'm not suggesting that anybody should go to the border of Wales and start shooting people with crossbows.
Well, that brings us back to the legal shield thing. You know what I mean? It really does. Like, they've got legal shields that are set up. You know,
what's a shield?
Well, like I was telling you about the Turcaso versus Watkins thing. You know what I mean? It was like they ruled 9-0 that religious tests are unconstitutional. You know what I mean? So that automatically
precedent.
Right. Now, this actually brings us into the next part. I like to call this. I personally name this, and I like to call it the time machine trial. because this is actually what it is. It's a time machine trial. And that consists of 1960s crimes in 2026, okay? Because there is a paradox here. You have old crimes and new rights, all right? So the question is if someone is caught today for a crime they committed in 1960, does the court rewind the clock? Do the old discriminatory laws come back to life? Okay. The simple question is basically you're punished based on the old definition, but you're protected by the new rights. You know what I mean? So, or that would be my answer basically. You know what I mean? You're punished based on the old definition, but you're protected by new rights basically.
I find it fascinating you use the term discriminatory.
Okay, so
occurrence.
I can break it down a little bit more for you if you want me to.
Yeah.
Please give us an example of something.
So you have substantive law, okay, and that's the definition of the crime. And then you have ex post facto, okay, where the Constitution forbids the government from changing the rules of the game after it's been played, basically. Right? Now, the rule is if you're tried for a 1960 murder, the prosecution has to prove you broke the law as it was written in 1960. They can't use a law in 2026, its definition, to make your 1960 actions more illegal. Okay? So with the penalty, they can also give you a harsher sentence than what was allowed, or they can't give you a harsher sentence than what was allowed to you in 1960. All right.
Yeah.
So that brings you into procedural law, okay, and the rules of the courtroom basically is what that's about. Now, according to current standards, this is where the time machine stops, okay, and the actual process of the trial, how the judge acts, what evidence is allowed, and who can testify follows the laws of today. Then you have constitutional evolution. So with that, we don't turn off the Bill of Rights just because the crime is old. Now, even if the trial is for the 1960 crime, the court must respect every Supreme Court ruling that has happened since then. Okay, so this is why the atheist clause stays dead, right? Now, the supreme law of the land, even if the state law from the 1960s said atheists can't testify, a judge today would be violating the U.S. Constitution if they tried to enforce it. The upgraded rule of today is that if the law changes to give you more rights, like the 1961 Turcaso ruling, you get those rights immediately. Now, the legal system only freezes the laws that would make things worse for a defendant, never the ones that make the trial more fair. Okay.
Is it federal or state?
That would go according to both.
Because one or the other would have
just
to be canceled.
No.
They had that thing about
it would be canceled for the state laws. If the state laws would be canceled for the more modern and up-to-date laws, because now Okay, so I guess the best way of discussing this would be, imagine a cold case being solved today, okay? And the defendant gets the best of both worlds, basically. Okay, the lighter sentencing of the 1960s, but the advanced civil rights and DNA evidence of 2026. Okay, now is that a loophole, or is it just how justice evolves, basically? You know what I mean?
Or is it? It's what they're what you call it? They're a main. What do you call it? The way they were in the mind. Because, like as I said, atheists. If you try to say something about
this doesn't necessarily have to do with just atheists. This
no,
has to
but
do
what I'm
with
saying is
everybody.
Okay.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm looking at. I just checked on UK, on at least England's perspective from this. A person can still be prosecuted for a crime committed in 1960 under the law as it stood at the time, provided the act was illegal in 1960 and no statute of limitations has. There's no statute of limitations in English laws, so England and Welsh law. Serious crime offences do not expire over time. So yeah, if somebody committed an act in, as far as England, Wales is concerned, at least, if somebody committed a crime in 1960, and then that law changes later on, and then attempted to, they can still be convicted under the that's existing or the previous law. There's no statute limitations.
Yeah, because that's what I was referring to. Because they have done that on the thing that they said that no, at that time of that when that crime gets committed, and even if it takes the next 50 years to find out who's the one that did it, that person will still be held responsible and still be prosecuted. Don't make no difference for whatever time it was. And
let me break this down. Let me break this down first, so that, because I think you guys are kind of a little bit off on shift on what I'm saying now. Now you can prosecute them, but the question really is are you punished based on the old traditions, the laws that were in place in 1960, or are you prosecuted according to the laws that are in place in 2026?
They can use it.
According to our laws, okay, you're punished based on the old definitions, but you are protected by new rights. By all of these new rights that we have now, 2026, we're protected by it. But we can only be punished based on those old laws, according to freaking 1960.
No, not really.
No, that's exactly the way it is.
Because they prosecuted a few people for that. They did. That guy, the one that he got by with it for 30 years.
You're not getting what I'm trying to say, because like the thing of it is I can use the perfect example on this. Okay, you have what they call the scot-free loophole. Okay, that's when law becomes a weapon. All right. Now we like to think of law as a time machine that protects us with old rules while upgrading our rights. The reality of it is that history shows us that legal logic is often used as a shield for injustice. And for that, a good example is in the Jim Crow era. Okay, murders didn't get off scot-free because of a lack of evidence. They got off because of methods of exclusion, which built into the foundation of the courtroom. Now, before I get going, I want to say there is a difference between the atheist clause and the Jim Crow clause. The difference of exclusion is bias versus subjugation. Now, the atheist clause, which is basically the religious test, was like a narrow intellectual gate. It silenced individuals based on what they believed. While discriminatory, it was a glitch basically in the rules of evidence that could be bypassed by faking oath. All right. Whereas the Jim Crow system, that was a racial barrier. This wasn't a glitch. It was a deliberate architecture. Now, by linking jury service to voter registration and then systematically blocking black citizens from voting, the law ensured that the power of the judge remained in the hands of the status quo. All right. So one was intentional and the other one was a glitch, basically. Okay. Now, the closed loop of injustice is what this is. It's how murderers walked. In a Jim Crow courtroom, the law of the time created a cycle where justice couldn't even enter the building. Police wouldn't investigate. Witnesses were silenced by threat of violence. Juries were selected specifically to ensure they would never convict one of their own. Okay. Now, this proves that a trial can follow every law on the books and still be a total perversion of justice. Okay. Now, rights aren't future consequences. Now, we've discussed how you could punish someone with a future law. No. Okay. But the thing of it is you can't punish someone with a future law that they didn't know about. That's called fair warning. Okay. We also can't freeze a trial in a state of systemic bias, basically, just because the crime is old. So human rights and procedural fairness are like upgrades. They're not consequences. We use today's higher standards of fairness to judge yesterday's crimes because a fair trial in a broken system isn't a trial. It's just a ceremony.
Okay. You looking at this specifically from a US point of view. From a US point of view, I think this would be unfair for me to speak specifically about the US in this relation, but I can speak from a British perspective. I'm going to use an example here. The death penalty in Britain, the death penalty permanently ended in 1969 in the UK. If, in theory, somebody was committed treason in, let's say, 1968 in Britain, and they are only just now convicted of treason based upon 1968 ruling, in theory, they could still be harmed. They could still receive the death penalty because they were the crime was created before the death penalty was established. As far as future retrospective laws concerned, it is illegal under Article 7 of the European Conventions on Human Rights, or the Human Rights Act of 1998. A person cannot be convicted of an action that was not a crime at the time that it was committed. So if they commit something that is now deemed to be a crime, but wasn't at the time, then they cannot be convicted. That's from a British perspective.
That's actually a good perspective to know, because like here, we what we do is like if something is beneficial to somebody who committed a crime back in 1960, then we allow them that. Okay, we don't and then like today, all of the things that could benefit them from the new civil rights movements and all that stuff and all the new laws that are put in, they can also reap that benefit as well. But what they will not get, they won't get the consequences, the negative stuff. You know what I mean? If you are accused of like in Jim Crow, people were murdered. Okay, so a lot of people who were part of like the KKK who murdered black people. Okay, and they were found out and sent to trial. A lot of them got off with like 20 years in prison because that was the sentence for any white man who murdered a black man in the 1960s. They couldn't be freaking given the life sentence or the death sentence because back then they didn't have a law that said freaking a white man could be freaking sentenced to death row because he killed a black man.
Well, that, and they didn't see as that. They didn't hold that much emphasis on that type of law back then either. They didn't put that much priority into it.
See, we've had numerous court proceedings since the 1960s where a lot of people actually got away pretty much scot-free with murder because the laws, they had to be tried according to the laws of that time period. So that is very interesting that you mentioned that. No, does it say that you can be held in England? You could actually be held on or you could be tried according to the consequences of today. Like you were talking about somebody committing treason back in the 1960s. Okay, but would they be tried according to the laws of the 1960s if
in theory they would be, but I think in all practicality that wouldn't happen. Again, I'm not absolutely sure because I've never heard of such a trial happening.
Yeah, because look at what happened with the King of England. What's his name? The one that got dethroned from England because he was in bed with the Nazis.
Oh, yeah, we've mentioned him.
Edward. Not Edward. Yeah, Edward.
Because when he did that right there, they would have executed him if for two reasons. If he wasn't
at that time,
no.
Yes, I know that.
It was an act of treason.
Huh?
It wasn't at the time with him. Okay, now the thing with what took place there, like it wouldn't have been an act of treason because during that time period, people in England as well as people here in the United States, they supported anti-Semitism, they supported Nazism. A lot of them actually, like DuPont. Okay, DuPont tried to actually commit a coup against the freaking president of the United States at the time, believe it or not. All right. And this isn't conspiracy. This is actually truth. And the only reason why they were able to freaking get away with that without being prosecuted was because it would have caused issues with our economy if they would have freaking done, if they would have prosecuted the point for it. But that's a known fact, and it's like even with Trump Krupp in Germany, okay. After the war in World War II, whenever freaking everything settled down, they decided that freaking even though Krupp was involved with a lot of the stuff that took place in World War II, they let him slide because it would have actually affected the economy if they would have freaking took legal measures against them.
Well, yeah, but what I was referring to is he knew about the 24 citizens of the UK being turned over to. They were part of the secret the Nazi regime in the UK.
And I think you were getting confused there.
There were citizens, 24 citizens in the UK with Nazis, and they got found out later on, and his what's his name? Girlfriend.
You were getting confused. King Edward the 5, 6, 7, 8.
Well, that was
King Edward the 8. Adapted the throne in 1936 due to marrying the American divorcee Wallace Simpson. And then it was King George the Sixth, and King George the Sixth ruled up to way through World War II. Anyway,
well, it was a thing,
nobody gave up the throne because of German interests.
Well, what I was referring
now, the guy that you're referring to was the one who married outside of the royal family.
Yeah.
Now you need to understand, Robert. Like, they won't allow for anybody to freaking become king if they are married to somebody who was not. Now they can, I guess, but like back then they wouldn't allow a person to marry outside of the family. That would automatically.
Yeah.
That would automatically phase them out from becoming king.
Yeah.
Technically, King George VI, his reign ended in 1952 due to death. Specifically due to blood clot.
Now, Queen Elizabeth, who she wasn't actually supposed to be queen, right? She was supposed to actually be. She took the place of George, right?
George VI. Yeah. She was the next monarch.
So, and that happened after World War II.
Yeah. King George VI died at the age of 56 in 1952, and Elizabeth II. Well, obviously, she became queen. A couple of days later, technically, February the 6th, the same day that George, officially, the entire ceremony, the entire coronation needed to go through. But the same day, February the 6th, 1952.
Yeah, so that was well after that. And see, that's the one reason why I was saying when we have conversations on here, that's the kind of stuff, because I know where you're getting a lot of this. You're getting it from a lot of the supposed alternative media sources.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing of it is like when you go in and you listen to that stuff, they are feeding you a load of crap. I mean, I've tried not freaking.
Well, BBC is what
No, I mean, No, you didn't hear that from the BBC. You
Or
heard
the
that from
BBC?
Alex Jones.
It's not the most trustful organisation in the world.
You heard that shit from Alex Jones. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Yeah,
they have
trust
the
me. It was
history.
somebody like Alex Jones.
Well,
But
they were
that's where
doing
they
the
heard it
history
from.
of World War II and the problems
On
that
YouTube.
the UK had
On
during
YouTube.
that time.
On YouTube, right? Their interpretation of the history of World War II, according to a content creator on YouTube or Facebook. You know, you that's the thing that I'm talking about. It's like, and that's one reason why I wanted to do this show, is so that we could break it down and actually get the facts. You know, and I'm glad that we did that, because now we've completely debunked that, and we can now move on and never hear you talk about that again.
There are good historical content creators. Said that. Said David Starkey, one of the prominent historians. He does a lot of stuff on YouTube. I can think of a couple commentators that were called the Lotus Eaters that have done historical content, and they really review the facts, and they are really good. But there are a lot of cranks out there as well.
I was trying to bring the crack down on my brother, man. You know, just I wanted to say some horrible things, make him upset.
Yeah, just be a bit more discerning who you believe.
You know,
that's my point, I think.
But no, Robert, it's just, the thing of it is like whenever we get into this, that's what it's about. It's about opening it up and looking at it, because a lot of that stuff, man, I used to say, you need to be into alternative media, and we need to step away from that mainstream media bullshit, because it's all just fake news. I was all about that crap, but then I started getting sick of freaking hearing the alternative media, because they were just as fake as the mainstream media was.
Again, not all alternative media. Again, the Lotus Eaters are would be considered as alternative media, and they produce good historical content.
Most of it, for me, I stay away from people who are trying to push narratives too, though. You see what I mean? Mean, and that's hard to do. That's really hard to do, is finding people who aren't trying to push a narrative. And it's just like when it comes to like this topic right here, you know what I mean? What we were talking about here, this is talking about seriously about the Jim Crow freaking laws that were in place, and then the atheist clause. Okay. And today, when you listen to a lot of people on these freaking alternative media things, they'll sit there and they'll tell you, well, they're trying to take God out of the freaking government. Well, dude, God was never supposed to be in the government. I don't know where you came up with the idea. This is supposed to be a secular government.
Yeah,
separation from state, religion and state.
Yeah,
it's always been that way.
And it's not only alternative media, but some mainstream media outlets are just as guilty.
That came from England. That's how this all appeared, because England wasn't that way. And
at the time, I mean, constitutional government was just it was new. You know what I mean? And I mentioned this on one of the episodes too before. Like we here in the United States, we are really American focused on that. Like, we're the only country that ever freaking fought against the English and had our own constitution. But the truth of the matter is like 80-90% of Europe was actually fighting a revolution against their freaking monarchies for constitutional government. I think only like maybe
Well,
5%.
90% of Europe doesn't have a monarchy.
Right.
Check. There's only a handful of I mentioned Monaco on Wednesday, didn't I?
Mhm.
And yeah, they are. Oh, I think last night possibly. They've got a. They've still got a. Oh, actually, yeah, Wednesday. They've still got a monarch.
Yeah, but you know, one thing I noticed about they got this stupid thing about. Okay, this I will say this: they got their people got this all screwed up because they're saying atheists is people that don't believe in protecting children or right and wrong. Okay, well, I've seen some people who are atheists but don't believe in that stuff. You know, uh, they want to what you call it, like typecast the the certain things about what they consider what atheists does do or the way they are about certain things like kids, adults, or they walk up and do
Well,
who knows what.
I've seen that in both directions too, though.
Yeah,
Because like I've actually, um, I've actually seen videos where atheists were trying to say like religion was a form of freaking child abuse. You know,
Okay.
and
So just quickly, just to go back to my previous point, there are 44 countries in Europe. Yeah, depending on how you count them, 44 to 51, but let's say 44. And I just those 44, there's only 12 European monarchs for 12 countries. United Kingdom, Spain, Netherlands, Belgium, Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. Andorra, Liechtenstein, and Monaco. Technically, those three are principalities. You've got the Duchy of Luxembourg, and you've got the theologic monarch of the Vatican City, which is a country in its own right.
you also have to break that down too more because you're talking about a constitutional monarchy or a democratic monarchy, whatever you
Okay,
call
yeah.
it. But like an absolute monarchy is what they were fighting against. You know what I mean? Like,
So I presume without minus the Pope, then the remaining 11 are the remaining 11 are constitutional monarchies.
yeah, you see.
Yeah.
And I think Denmark and Poland maybe was the only ones that
Yeah, I
didn't
said
even have-
Denmark. United Kingdom, Spain, Netherlands, Belgium, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Luxembourg, Andorra,
In
a
Greenland,
unique principality, Liechtenstein, and Monaco. But Monaco is another fairly unique principality with Spain, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Now, Greenland isn't a part of Europe, Robert.
oh, okay. I thought you were. Well, they're the ones with kings and queens, are they?
Greenland is Europe. I know Greenland is Europe. Yeah, Greenland is a principality of Denmark.
But it's not Europe.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's Europe.
well, I mean, you would have to go doing your typing and double check on that one, because I think you'll find out that that's not true.
Hang on.
Iceland and Greenland aren't even a part of the United States. They aren't a part of the Americas, I should say, or Europe.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. No, I wasn't meaning that. I thought you guys.
They're in a very interesting area, just to put it to you. I'm pretty sure that they aren't a part of Europe.
Okay, technically, Greenland is part of the continent of North America.
North America, really?
Yeah, geopolitical and historically it is closely tied to Europe. So technically, it is part of the continent of North America.
That's amazing. I didn't even know that. So we've learned something today. Greenland is actually a part of the Americas. That's something I didn't even know, to be honest. I had no clue. So,
I was just thinking of the Falkland Islands as well. Is that technically part of Europe? But no, that's part of the Americas as well. Geographically speaking.
Yeah. So for me, like I said, I wanted to get through this stuff. I believe we've actually done a good job on finishing up this section, so that we, because I didn't really want to get too freaking advanced. I kind of wanted to go over some of the stuff that was being discussed about atheism. And
we didn't really touch on atheism per se. We were talking more related to the concept of old laws.
Yeah.
It was the atheist clause.
I think we could return to atheism maybe next week.
The atheist clause.
Because that's a bit more complicated. Yeah.
I thought that we would get more out of it when it comes to the atheist clause.
I'm thinking on the point of state and church, that sort of thing.
Well, state and church actually was something that we did talk about right there. So.
Yeah, but that's the thing right here, Roger. Okay, which one holds more power in that situation, the state or the government? Because
well, see, with a secular government, they should, religion shouldn't even be a part of it.
No, well, yeah, I was talking about the atheist. Where the laws of certain laws for certain, which one or how the state runs.
I don't think
compared to what the government.
Okay.
None of that should be a part of.
As part. Yeah. Just on a minor point, I consider the government is the state.
Yeah.
Not the state being the government, but the government being the state.
Yeah. Well, about the wall thing, back in the 20s, they had that thing about, like, they still had that thing, same thing as what they do. Well, I don't know. Like, if you talk to someone that has a mentally problem to do a crime, okay, and they find out today that that's what you did back then, cause that person to kill people or injure someone, and that person as well got hurt from it, that person that did that is held responsible in our time today, because they have done that too. They have arrested people for doing that. They found out about that, and they said that by doing that, inflicting pain and killing people.
Let me.
Okay. Nobody's going to be alive today that was born in 1920 that make them what?
Well, like if you're 19 or 20, if you're 20 at 1930s, if you're.
No, let me also point something out too when it comes to the mentally handicapped. Okay, now the thing of it is it's like a lot of people who are mentally handicapped don't understand. Like, they actually are they're wardens of the state, or a warden of the state. Like, the state actually has authority over you because you're mentally handicapped. Okay. Like, they can literally, if they find out that you are incapable of taking care of yourself, they can literally take custody of you at any age and make you do what they want you to do because you are mentally handicapped. And that's something that freaking I find kind of offensive too, because I've seen cases in the past where, like, this girl goes to court. It was in Indiana. She went to court. Her mom and dad took her to court, and freaking they went before the judge and told the judge that she was mentally unable to take care of herself, and they wanted her to freaking be fixed to where she couldn't have babies. Now, this girl did not have mental issues, but what the judge did is literally pass the law because her parents said that they actually had it to where she couldn't have babies. And years later, she found out. She didn't even know that they had done that to her until years later when she got married and wanted to have kids.
I think it was, what was it, 2 weeks ago I asked both of you to watch a film, Tomorrow's Children, that 1930s film. Did you both watch it?
Tomorrow's Children, I believe so.
I gave you a reference in my chat to a video that I uploaded to mine, and it was all about in the 30s the state's control or US control over mentally what would have been considered at the time unfit individuals, and it was related to sterilization.
Yes, that's exactly what this is relating to, because that was actually it just literally showed me exactly what I was wanting to look for in a minute. You know, to see that's exactly what was going on, is that they were systematically doing this stuff for sterilization programs. Like when you look at Planned Parenthood, for example, okay? Planned Parenthood is actually a voluntary eugenics program. And a lot of people don't understand that. They hear eugenics and they're like, oh, you're just crazy. And they don't understand what eugenics is. Birth control and birth abortion and stuff is a eugenics program. And that's the way it started. You know what I mean? And those are facts. Those are facts. People just still do not believe that that's true, and it is true. You know, I literally had that on here, but
yeah, ain't that the same thing for what you call it, population control? Falls in that same predicament.
Yeah, Tomorrow's Children, the Unborn, directed by Crane Wilburn.
Yeah.
No, I found it.
It was a criticism of it was a film based that was actually a direct criticism of US federal law at the time.
And
I say.
Nobody's in here but us, so I don't know if I should put it in the chat, but I will go ahead and post it in there.
Well, what I was referring to is that in our time today, okay, we're talking like, even if you were still alive, okay, you do go and you create a problem like that, talk to someone afflicting bodily harm on someone back then, or hurt someone and use someone else. In our time, even today, you can still be prosecuted for that. You can, especially if they died. I don't know about assault and battery or close to murder, but when the person dies, there's no limitation to it. And the second person that arranged all this would be held reliable for this as well too. And that's the type of, and that law from that back then could be used as well with the new one too. You can combine two laws together too.
Well, see, a lot of that is that could be called speculation if I was Mark Edworthy, right? That's a lot of conjecture and speculation. So what we can do is we can build on that and see just how true that is, because I'm gonna tell you something right now, okay? When you say like prosecute and everything, I doubt very seriously, even in today's world, that people will be prosecuted for that stuff, because these people are very harsh They really have very little freaking care about a lot of stuff they claim they do. Like you'll see a lot of these commercials that are out there saying freaking that you need to help people with mental problems, you need to help people with this problem or that problem, and they really don't care about them. Okay, they allow harsh laws to be put in place, just like I said when it comes to that girl. It was in Indiana. Okay, but it's an actual law or a thing that happened back in the past. And the most messed up part about it was is she went to court to try to sue the judge for freaking allowing her parents to do that, and they would not let her freaking sue the judge because he was actually freaking in the process of being a judge in court. And whenever a judge is actually doing his duties as a judge, he is immune from freaking any kind of litigation. He cannot be sued unless freaking the state sees fit to freaking allow it to happen. That's the most messed up part about it.
Yeah.
I think, in Britain, the laws are somewhat different. As far as that's
Check
concerned.
up on that first before you make the statements, because I know you're real big about being precise about stuff. So before you say that, just find out, and then we'll come back to this topic, because I mean that kind of does open up a whole different area of looking at it.
Remember that movie, Rich, we were watching about back in it's a true story about that little black girl went to the store for her parents, and them two rednecks.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was an actual true story, and they actually prosecuted them too, but it took 20 years to find out how and where her body and all that. To find out that they dragged her down the road with a rope and tore her body all apart by the back of their truck.
Mm-hmm. Well, today we were supposed to be talking about atheism, and what I'm going to do right now is bring this to an end right now, and we can come back later on with another episode next week. Like I said, I thought that this would have more substance, and I didn't think that it would go so quick, to be honest with you. But it was still good. We still got some good conversation out. We were able to discuss absolute monarchy versus freaking constitutional monarchy, or I guess parliamentary monarchy.
We may have missed the original point a bit, but it was a good discussion anyway.
Yeah, later on we'll come back and we will get back into the topics. We are going to be talking about socialism and sociology, and we will be right back on task with all that. So before we're going to end this, Robert. So before we go, Mark, can you give your socials?
Sure. Minds.com under the username Medworthy.
Okay. Now with me and Robert, you can find us at minds.com at Roger_Hanson. And you can also find us on X, Roger Hanson at ROGLOL1973. We also have a Minds group called the Praetorian that you can check out. If you want to get on the show, be a part of the show, go in there, get into the chat, start talking with us. Also, I have links posted on my main account, so that if you want to come on, you're more than welcome to. Just click on the link, put your name in, and you are more than welcome to be here. On top of that, we do have Elements Matrix, Roger's Hangout. Check us out there. If you want to, you can check us out on Teams as well at Rogers Hangout. This is going to be edited and uploaded onto the Praetorian on both YouTube and on Rumble, so you can check it out when it comes out later on, or you can just come back and watch this stream again, either way. So with that being said, please like, subscribe, share, make comments in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts, and we will talk to you later.